All right, Andrew, quick question, if you don't mind again. I have many. I'm sure as an intelligent nation state, and especially with the most advanced military weapons on the planet, the chance of an October 7th style attack happening again, let's argue that it happened somehow. They had a monumental failure of intelligence, which is, of course, impossible, but let's pretend it happened organically. The chance of it happening again must be near zero. So surely peace is just to stop blowing up the children, right? That's peace. What can the Palestinians do? They're going to get across the border again. Are they going to get more paragliders? Is that what we believe? Surely peace is just to stop blowing up the kids right now. Bam, done, if they want peace.
Correct.
And stop invading the West Bank as well, stealing land.
That's right. So if they stop killing everybody and if they stop invading and taking people's land, then the peace comes, right? So surely the burden of peace is on the Israelis who are failing, correct?
And the only way we're going to get to that is, as I believe Dave Smith said, if we don't have American support for war, it will inevitably end in peace. So everybody listening to this can literally help create peace by supporting Trump, but with the premise he must be the pro-peace president that we elected in 2016. And I'm not Israeli, but I'll attempt to answer all of this stuff. I think that we absolutely have to look at Israel as a nation state dependent on us. We're giving them aid, we're giving them weapons. So if they're dependent on us, then it's up to us to create the peace. And the only way you're going to get that, call for peace, demand both sides start engaging in it, and look to who are possibly going to be the next president of the United States. Kamala Harris, part of the complete globalist cabal, total puppet. They want war. They want to divide and conquer all of us. Trump, who's an independent, literally was shot at. The CIA definitely involved. The Secret Service stood down. So that is a man that's for peace. And all of the people in the dissident right that's, I don't know if I'm going to vote. By the way, I hate Israel. If you hate Israel, why would you not vote for the only man that gives us a chance at peace? And that's one of the big reasons I like talking about this. We have a chance to create peace right now. And I think people are a little unfocused on how to get there.
Why don't you feel, or why do you think the AIPAC does not have to register with FARA?
I don't feel that at all. They should.
Okay, but why do you think that is? Because, I mean, a logical extension of the fact that AIPAC does not have to register with FARA, you can go to trackapac.com and see how every single senator on both sides of the dichotomy is taking money from Israel. Surely we're an occupied nation, and Israel is effectively running the American government currently. Would you agree?
I think they're one of many factions. People don't talk about the Qatar money. There's a whole great documentary called Blood Money by my friends John Dutoit and Scooter Downey.
Well, I know this very well. Qatar invests in infrastructure projects, and they try and use that political leverage to get what they want, because that's what investment is. Investment's not being a nice person. Investment is typically building infrastructure and then trying to lean on it politically, and every single nation in the world does that. But Qatar doesn't openly hand piles of cash to senators.
I don't know that that's true. I think you should watch the documentary Blood Money, and they're not the only ones, by the way. We are puppeted by people. Stop talking about the British like they have no influence. They literally sent a spy, Christopher Steele, to try and derail the Trump administration. So there's the British, there's the Chinese, there's Qatar. There's all number of players in this global NWO trying to puppet the America, steer us off course. Israel, there is an issue there, obviously, but to focus on them solely and not look at, okay, there's this wide range of issues. That's how we are getting divided and conquered. They use our momentum.
I understand your point.
What you're saying.
Sorry, go on, Dan.
I was just, what you're saying sounds great, like this whole peace thing and blah, blah, blah. And, it's also these guys, but we're not fighting wars for the UK. We're not fighting wars for Saudi. Like, if you look at how we are acting and who is controlling our country, it all points back to Israel. I mean, Epstein Island was not an accident. Like, him being killed was not an accident. Nobody being prosecuted wasn't an accident. Like, that was a Mossad operation, so they have dirt on our U.S. politicians. And because of that, because of this dirt, because of these bribes, because of the money that's coming in, they're controlling our government. And that is the source of the problem. Saying, we're going to tell Trump that we want peace and then Trump's going to have peace. It's just bullshit. I mean, it sounds great and whatever, but that's not the real world. The real world is these people are controlling our government, and that's not going to fucking stop by us telling Trump he needs to call.
And I'll say that was the only government.
Sorry, to piggyback what Dan said, I think there's another very important point. You talk about a UK spy. Well, espionage is illegal. And you talk about Qatari blood money. Well, that's once again illegal. People went to jail for that. I think in the EU, they tried to bribe somebody with cash and people went to jail. The point we're making here is that AIPAC can do this with impunity. legal impunity, and they're the only people who can do it. So why is Israel allowed to bribe our politicians and own our government with legal impunity? And any other nation that attempts to do that at least will face consequences of the law. Why can Israel just buy us?
I don't agree they're the only ones allowed to do it without impunity. Fang Fang is a Chinese spy. We all know her name. No charges ever for anything like that. So just because you're saying that, oh, AIPAC isn't forced to register, all of these countries are allowed to get away with all of this. There was no charges for Fang Fang, Christopher Steele, anything like that. And Dan's saying that can I finish one point? Come on. Let me finish one point. Dan Bilzerian saying that the only country we're going to war with is Israel. If you forget, the Taliban were destroying the opium in Afghanistan. We went to Afghanistan to protect the opium. That money got laundered through HSBC. That money goes straight to the UK and Britain. So if you think the only nation puppeting us for war is Israel, you're just not that deep into this. No offense.
I did also want to speak about the blanket statement when people say Israel's the most moral army in the world, because that's another one that I'm just trying to comprehend why people started saying that. Back in 2002, I believe it was, the Israeli troops decided to take over Palestinian TV stations and start playing pornography as a weapon of war. And when you consider that as being used as a weapon of war, and then we look over here, and this is something that people talk about a lot, of the introduction of pornography into American society, and please correct me, Andrew, if I'm wrong, is pornography still banned in Israel? Do they eventually ban pornography?
I have no idea. That's a good question.
Okay, I'm not positive on that. But some of these issues, then you talk about, blackmail, pornography, and we know for a fact that there have been tons of, blackmail things that have taken place, whether they involved the Mossad. And of course, talking about Jeffrey Epstein, we do know the Mossad was involved in that, and there's absolutely no accountability. Do you think the reason for that is because Israel has secured, through mechanisms of blackmail, a stranglehold on all the people that are in office today? And by the way, I believe that there are some commentators who, and somebody like Destiny who's popped up here, which is, I won't have him on because I don't think it's fair to the Zionist lobby to have on a sexual deviant as a representative. But I will say that, I believe that they have, they're capturing blackmail on people by seeing what weird pornography they scroll to. Destiny's got some weird stuff out there. And then are able to control these voices and say, we know that you scrolled onto this website. We know that you're into kitty stuff, whatever it is. Is that a far out theory, given everything that we know about Israel? That could be a reason why so many politicians are responding in that way.
I think that makes a lot of sense. If you look at Alex Acosta, he was the prosecutor in South Florida when charges were brought against Epstein. He was literally the dean at my law school, by the way, Acosta. And he said he was told by federal agents, Epstein is an intelligence asset. You have to lay off of him. And I think all of the research points to that Epstein was a joint operation between the CIA and the Mossad. So I think, yeah, they do have a lot of blackmail on a lot of people. That makes absolute sense.
Yeah.
Andrew, another quick question, because you talked about British spies and these kind of things. I'm a dual citizen, American, British national, so this is just popped into my head. If you're an American pedophile with a British passport, can you hide from the American government in England?
I have no idea.
No, you cannot.
No, you cannot is the answer. So,
but you can in Israel.
Why is an Israeli passport make you immune from extradition for any, especially sexual crimes committed in the West? Don't you think that's a bit strange?
Yeah, that's terrible. They should reverse that. You have to realize the Israeli nation state was founded by atheists. Like David Ben-Gurion is an atheist. He's an amoral guy. So anything like that, there's plenty Israel does wrong. Believe me, I would have them change it.
Okay, so let's remove religion for a second. Let's just talk about this logically. Let's remove religion from it for a second. So we're talking about a nation state where if you have the passport, you can hide from your crimes anywhere else in the world. If you're the leader of this nation, it doesn't matter what the International Court of Justice says about your arrest warrant. You can ignore that. You can openly bribe politicians openly, and you're the only country who can ever do it. You're the only country who's ever attacked America and not felt repercussion. You're the only country that can't be criticized without the person having genuine detriment to their everyday life. You're the only country protected by the mainstream media endlessly. You're the only country that can commit genocide. You're the only country that can rape prisoners of war. Don't you think this is extremely unusual? And that there's certainly something going on behind the scenes that's not just a matter of, AIPAC, they try and bribe politicians, but so does China. Don't you think there's something else going on? Just using your logical mind.
Your assertion that they're the only nation to do many of those things is just completely false. The fact that fentanyl is something that people have to willingly ingest, it's still an attack on America to bring it through the border and kill Americans. That's their plan. And by the way,
You act like that's not coming from Mexico too, though.
What? Well, let me finish a point. I don't interrupt you guys. Let me finish a point, please.
Yeah, let's let him finish his point. Go ahead, Andrew.
The Wuhan virus, obviously, they suspended internal transportation in China. They were not allowed to go places in China, but they are allowed to come to America. And there's videos of Chinese nationals literally licking door handles, the sabotage at the meat factories. There's all sorts of things that China did that are an attack upon America. You saying that Israel's the only nation to ever do it, you're just ignoring something and saying blah, blah, China. It's not blah, blah to send fentanyl and kill tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of Americans.
Though. They're not our ally.
I think you guys are talking past each other here.
Andrew,
I totally agree with what you're saying. I think the point that's being made here is they're the only people that can do it without any media backlash. And it's the exact opposite, actually. Israel's the only nation that can do this stuff and be radically defended in the same way that we just watched yesterday, people coming out to defend Leo Frank, who is a convicted pedophile. They're the only ones that can do these sorts of things and trust that the entire mainstream media apparatus will defend them and hide and protect them in every single measure. I think that's the point that's being made. Not that others don't try to do it, not that others aren't trying to blackmail politicians, but that Israel is allowed to do it.
I think Fox News will defend these people. But if you go on mainstream media, CBS, CNN, like when China was doing all sorts of nasty things, you have LeBron James standing for them and the whole mainstream media defending them. You have an entire component of the mainstream media that will defend China, including mainstream American athletes like LeBron James. So I understand what you're saying. The point is, well, China's not framed as an ally. Maybe they're not. They're probably not. But they're also not given nearly the scrutiny that their actions deserve. If we should be at war with a nation, maybe it should be China. I don't think we should be at war with anyone. I'm with peace. But if I'm looking for a nation that is at war with, they sent us a bioweapon to shut down the economy, to kill people, to take away Trump's presidency. They made him unpopular when he was being extremely popular at the end of 2019. So China absolutely is an enemy nation, whether it's framed that way or not. They don't get nearly the smoke that they deserve.
What I will say, Tristan Tate here, this isn't Andrew. What I will say is, yes, a lot of countries do a lot of bad things. China does a lot of bad things. Rwanda was a Christian country, committed a massive genocide that everyone forgets about. Yugoslavia, again, a mixed religion country in Europe that committed a genocide everyone forgets about. However, all of these countries exist in the free market of ideas. They fund their own economies, they fund their own war machines, they fund their own militaries, and lots of countries do bad things. But as an American taxpayer, I don't know how any American can sit there and be happy with the fact that not only the attacks on not only the attacks on children and innocents in the Gaza Strip and in the West Bank, but also attacks on the American military itself are being funded by the hardworking people of America. Israel doesn't exist in the free market of ideas. It's not self-sufficient. It doesn't fund itself. We are paying for this to happen, which I think makes it incredibly different to pointing the finger at anything like China. China could do the most evil things in the world. China is funding China and China is being evil. Okay, it's not ideal. It's not great. But Israel is being funded by the United States. It's an arm of America shooting America back in the foot. And that makes it very different. You can't conflate the two.
I'm not conflating at all. If you look at, for example, what China got in most favored nation status, they were granted a boon by America to take our jobs and to destroy our economy. It's a different type of war. It's advanced warfare, economic warfare. It's the most advanced type of warfare there is, and we're giving them all of the means to destroy us. So I understand your point. You're not wrong in that we should not be giving them any. The third time I think I've said this on here. We should not be giving them aid. I'm not for foreign aid, but you also have to recognize the American military industrial complex also benefits from this. We shouldn't be giving them the welfare either, because Raytheon and Boeing, and by funneling through Nancy Pelosi and all these politicians. If you read my book, I listed all the Democrats, all the Republicans. These people are all getting money from the war machine. Israel is a means to make it rain on them, just like Ukraine.
Okay.
All the money from Ukraine is funneled back towards these people.
Great point. So my question to you then, Andrew, great point. When we talk about Israel is our number one ally, obviously you have to define what ally is. I guess that's up for debate, as Dan has pointed out quite correctly, looking at the history. But let's look at our R does not mean the average American person. R does not mean the average American citizen. R does not mean the taxpayer. Are you saying that Israel exists primarily because it is the ally of the deep state, which is exploiting the American population? It's funneling the tax base into private hands and plundering the American taxpayers' money. Are you saying that Israel's an ally to the people in America, which are destroying America as a whole, and that they're hand in hand? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, I'm saying Israel is a state that we should give no support to, but we should encourage peace with them and their neighbors. And as far as who I think our greatest ally is, I would definitely say Japan, just because I like that they send us Super Mario and Lexus and Dragon Ball Z. So I would say Japan is our greatest ally. I go with Japan on that.
Well, it sounds to me like I'm sorry to interrupt. It just sounds to me like you're saying, look, the Israeli government does bad things and they're doing bad things with the bad people in American government, and America's propping up Israel because the deep state and military industrial complex want Israel so they can all launder money and they can all plunder the tax base, but Israel's still good. And I mean, I guess the logical extension of the points you're making is that Israel's not good.